The Event Industry News podcast is sponsored by Present Communications. Present provides broadcast quality live, hybrid, and virtual event production trusted by organizations where reliability really matters. From corporate town halls and conferences to high-profile live streams, they design and deliver fully resilient systems that work first time. Hello, everybody, and welcome along to the Event Industry News podcast with me, James Dickson, wishing you all a very good morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever or wherever you tune in to today's podcast from. And it's afternoon for me, but it is very much good morning to my guest today, who joins me from their base in New York. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about the agency model of the future. I dare say a lot of people who tune in regularly to the Event Industry News podcast will either work for or work with, work alongside, have had experience with an agency. And there is no bigger a global agency that works within the events industry than the company from which my guest today joins us from. She is the global president of INVNT, and I'm delighted to say joining the Event Industry News podcast this afternoon for me and this morning for her is Kristina McCoobery. Kristina, a very warm welcome.
Thank you, James. Lovely to be here.
And in New York, of course, and again, I always like to give context to our listeners because you never know when people are going to listen to podcasts now. But we're the day after the World Cup final, so New York, home of the World Cup final, very much a huge hub for the tournament that just ended yesterday.
Indeed, and what a match it was. As I said to you in our preamble, certainly some disappointing news given our presence in London as an office, that we were very sad England was not in the final. Absolutely the horse that we had in the race, especially once US was out. But incredible match, and certainly a testament to what a live event can bring to any brand or location, city for that matter.
Hey, without a doubt, I'm a huge football, / soccer fan, and I've been recording a few episodes today, so I've been referencing the fact that the World Cup ended yesterday. But it's in some respects, it's a great thing to reference because there is, arguably no bigger an event for the events industry than something like a global or arguably the biggest sporting tournament in the world. So all sorts of stuff we could reference out of there. Before we get into the sort of the real sort of nitty gritty of today's conversation, Kristina, I always like to give our podcast followers a chance to sort of get to know the guests a little bit, find out a little bit about you if they've not encountered you before. Would you mind just giving us a bit of potted history? Who are you? What is INVNT for people who may not be aware of the company and the brand?
Sure, of course. And again, thank you for having me. So yeah, a little bit background on me. I've been in the event industry for over 30 years. I actually started, my background's in theater here in New York. I studied theater in university. I went on to be an actress. I did some directing, found that the world of theater and being an actor, while exciting, presented some challenges. Even when you're employed, you're unemployed. But it did lead me to this space, which I could not be more fortunate to be a part of. I'm thrilled that I have found a career and an industry where I get that same adrenaline rush that I found in the world of theater, with an accompaniment of incredible brand strategy, which I also have discovered is a real passion of mine. So I started out at an agency called Williams Gerard Productions back in '99, and that is where I met Scott Cullither, who became my business partner, co-founder, and now husband. So quite the trifecta there. He and I left that agency in 2008 and started INVNT. We started with 4 clients and 4 million in revenue in 2008 and ended last year well above 150 million with countless global brands that we've serviced for over the past 18 years. We've had quite a journey. We started out quite small in New York, expanded quite quickly in the US, landed in London only 2 years later in 2010, and have since expanded globally with offices all around the US, APAC, EMEA. And yeah, here we are. So it's been quite a journey. INVNT is a live events agency. We call ourselves the global brand storytelling agency. We really believe in storytelling as the primary vehicle for live events and the best way for brands to express themselves, especially in today's day and age.
It fascinates me. Straight away, I'm going to disregard my notes and go straight to the theatre background and the acting,
Ah,
because, you know, an event of any description needs a beginning, a middle, and an end. You
mm,
know, it needs, you know, it needs to be well structured, well scripted. It needs to be well planned, well rehearsed. All of those things that we associate with filmmaking, with theatre, with live music, you know, come into whether they're brand activations. It's regardless of what type of event it actually is. All of those things come into play, but more often not, it's the thing that I see actually disregarded the most and not given any attention. It's a strange kind of paradox, isn't it?
it is. It is. I can't tell you how many times I draw on my theater background, as does our chief creative officer, Paul Blurton, a Brit based here in the U.S. His background is also in theater. He grew up in the theater in the U.K. So I think it's a tenet of our industry, but more importantly, a tenet of INVNT. So we do believe in storytelling, to your point, a solid beginning, middle, and end. And it really is taking attendees on a journey, which any good play, film, show will take the attendee on a journey. And it's
Mm.
often an emotional journey, one that the audience becomes genuinely invested in. And so I think if we start, when we start the creative process, and to truly take into consideration what the attendee and audience experience needs to be, we will always start with telling a good story. When you tell a good story, or when you go and see an incredible play or see an incredible film, you then continue to share what that story was with other people. It takes on a life beyond the event or play itself.
Mm.
And that's always been, that was a passion of mine. In fact, a lot of my theater background was in improv. So that has been an incredible tool in saying yes to our partners, whether they be our clients or our colleagues, and moving the story forward, which is obviously an improvisational skill and primary goal.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody who works in the events industry at any level who hasn't had to improvise at some
Yes,
point in
yes,
their career.
yes.
Does the ethos that you just referenced there, the storytelling, the
Hmm.
narrative, has that become more relevant as time has progressed than even more so than when you founded the company on those principles? Given the advancements in technology, given how much easier it is for people to connect in a non-face-to-face way,
Hmm.
how has that ethos developed and shaped itself as you find yourself and sit here today?
It's a great question. I think we started using that word storytelling, brand storytelling, quite early in its. Now it's used quite a bit. um, we did discover it quite early because we saw how much it impacted the work, how it impacted our growth, frankly, because of the impact it had on audiences and brands. But I will say now, and you can't talk about the in-person impact without referencing the pandemic and having a screen between an attendee, an audience member, and the experience itself. And I think certainly something that came out of that period of time is just how incredibly valuable the in-person experience really is.
Mm.
It's no secret that the industry itself catapulted coming out of the pandemic because there was an obvious uh, observation and need for that in-person event. And so we saw we had an incredible growth period following that as an agency. And
Mm.
I think that certainly with the onslaught of AI, the reality is, and I mean, it's one of my favorite quotes. It's from Mark Cuban, who said it's about a year and a half ago, who said, you know, with the onslaught of AI, particularly in video production and in what we see on all of the different screens that we have in our lives, he predicted that there would be a massive hockey stick growth in the live event space because in reality, it's the only place you can go where it's real.
Yeah.
And that really resonated with us, and I think continues to resonate with us and our clients because you know, uh, 20 years ago, the live event, the launch moment, the press conference, it was a piece of the marketing strategy, but it was not really at the core. And now we're discovering and learning and also guiding, frankly, our clients that live event, that in-person event, that moment where you have your constituents, your stakeholders, your customers all in one place, has a value that is unmatched now.
Yeah, and not just, well, yeah, obviously value, that there's value in an economic sense, but there's value in an emotional sense as well.
Absolutely.
And as I've said many times on this podcast, you cannot replicate the unexpected feeling of euphoria when
Ah,
you're sat in a keynote speech, or at the start of a concert, or at the start of a play, when the curtain, the
mm,
lights go down and the curtain goes up, or the first drum beat that you hear when a band hits the stage, or when all of the production elements of a big keynote speech come together and the light and the sound combine to give that audience member or that delegate that unexpected rush of adrenaline, the hair standing up on your arms, and that feeling of euphoria. Very, very difficult to replicate using any form of technology.
you are speaking my love language. That is so spot on. It is, and I couldn't agree more. And I think even now, having been a part of this industry for such a long time, and being in the room, whether I have a headset on, or more likely in these days, less likely. But in my early days as an executive producer, that adrenaline rush, that feeling or anticipatory excitement that happens before an event starts, or when you can feel the sort of arc of a story hitting a crescendo, it's absolutely something that I couldn't agree with you more, is unmatched, certainly on a platform where you are not in a space with other people feeding off of them having that same visceral response.
Sure, and I don't want to, for one second, people to sort of maybe misinterpret that I'm disregarding the use of AI, or
Oh,
suggesting
no,
that
no.
technology
Mm-mm.
doesn't have a place in the
No.
event sector, because it does, and I know
Hmm.
for a fact that Invent,
Hmm.
you're developing your own tools and your own
Hmm.
AI that's actually being utilized within there. So it's about utilizing the tools that are available and that you can develop yourself now,
Yes.
in order to further enhance the ethos that we've been referencing so far. That might be an interesting next step, because I'm
Hmm.
fascinated to learn a little bit more about this. I don't know if you can call it an AI engine, or the developments that
Hmm.
you've actually been progressing yourself in house. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, of course. And I will say that it's AI it's another tool in the toolbox. It's a big tool. Let's be honest. It's not a small advancement in a cool like new video technology. It's big, and it is significantly moving the dial in how we work. I will say, like as an agency, we've leaned into it for internal efficiencies, both creatively and operationally, for quite some time. So we are not shying away from AI by any stretch. What we are not doing, though, is relying solely on AI to do our job creatively and strategically. We
Mm.
truly believe human first, human led strategy, creative concepting is still at the forefront of how we operate as an agency. With that said, it's a pretty powerful tool, and it is making us more efficient. It is helping us provide more value to our clients. And so we made the move in the beginning of this year to hire a chief AI officer. While we were exploring and utilizing a lot of tools internally, we have an innovation division that's headquartered out of our Singapore office. So we were very much along the ride, but really felt the need to have someone on the team that was solely dedicated to this. And his name's James Kinney. And he is leading the efforts for our creation of what's called Orbby. And Orbby is a product, an AI product that will help our clients with everything from predictive analytics to on-site analytics. And it is an AI engine that is going to help our clients utilize AI again as a hyper tool in how to better events, not only the current event that they're doing, but I think more importantly, events moving forward.
Yeah.
Gauging audience reactions, gauging audiences, level of engagement, time spent, all of those things that I think we can kind of do right now, but to put it in a real supercharged format that can help our clients, again, make better decisions.
Serendipity is a wonderful thing sometimes, because I've been recording episodes of the podcast today, and my guest just an hour or so ago, Kieran Garlick from a company called Present Communications, who are our podcast sponsor. I was talking to him about sort of training and development and personnel within the events industry, and we were actually talking about how the advancement of technology is actually ultimately going to create new roles potentially,
Yes.
because we will need people who are skilled in utilizing those tools. So it's weird and wonderful and coincidental and serendipitous that you mentioned that you've now got a chief AI officer, because that's exactly what we were talking about on a previous episode of the podcast is, having somebody within a kind of high tech based role within organizations who really
Yes.
understands specifically how to utilize some of these new tools, not just for the benefit of the business but for the benefit of the clients, which has a knock-on effect
Yes.
to the business. So how quick was that decision made? How long ago did you start discussing about possibly having somebody in that role to do exactly what James is doing?
So it happened quite quickly, as has the advancements and evolution of AI in our space. So, one thing over the past 18 years that we have not been is slow. We move quite quickly. We're a hyper growth agency, constantly seeking out the next best thing that will help, again, help our clients, help our audiences, help our employees. So um, we started certainly diving into the world of AI, a couple of years ago, and then that started gaining traction. And it was my co-founder, Scott Cullither, who came to us one day and said, "I think it's time that we really put our money where our mouth is, bring somebody in who's an expert that can really help guide us, because I think." And also service our clients, because our clients are seeking it too. So I think it's really important for us as an industry to recognize it. We need really well educated, very smart people in the world of AI that we can bring into a room with us and help guide our clients as well. They're looking for the answers also. And so I think we knew we needed to be legitimate and have a strong perspective and point of view on it so that we can help guide our clients. And so within 2 months of recruiting and having lots of discussions, we hired James. So the conversation really gained traction in like Q3, Q4 last year of 2025.
Mm-hmm.
And James started January 1 of this year. So it moved quite quickly, and all of our clients want to hear from him, and we'll bring them to their strategy discussions. Some clients have a really strong appetite to incorporate AI, and others are really looking for guidance, like help us use AI to move the needle in our space. So he's doing all of that. So he's creating internal efficiencies. He's helping our clients navigate. It's been a great ad.
Yeah, and when I think about the tools, the information, the data, everything that's available to organizers now, to clients that you'll be working with, even in its most basic sense, having somebody who can guide them on an AI thing might just be to help them understand the metrics of their event a little bit
That's right.
better, the data that's been generated from it. That's before we get into any of the kind of operational and production
Yep.
efficiencies that you can generate. Just being able to actually extract something a little bit more meaningful from the data that you've got archived over the last 5, 6, 10 years, however that may be. These
Yeah.
tools can do in 5 seconds what it might take somebody 5 months to look at.
That's right. Create the lake. Let's see what's in there. I mean, it is incredible too. And the other thing I think that we have found as well, we have about 250 employees now that we've just completed our merger. We have 250 employees globally at INVNT. So you have your people that have really dived in and let me wrap my head around AI, and they're super users already of Claude, and they're really driving efficiencies. And again, a lot of that's coming out of our Singapore office, but a lot of it here in the US as well. And then you have, some members of our team that are a little reluctant and maybe, don't want to lean into AI to help, design a set or, come up with something creatively. And so I think, one of the words we use a lot in the agency now is curator. So
Yeah.
while AI is there, right, and it's just such a powerful tool, unless you have really strong strategy and really strong trajectory of the brief and the plan, it's really just going to be a lot of information. So we're really focusing on training our teams to become very strong curators of what comes out of AI and help curate that to best serve our clients.
And in terms of curation, I want to go back to the actual sort of, the storytelling aspect, those fundamental elements of how you describe sort of founding INVNT and what it's based on in terms of telling stories. Has the task of telling that story on a global level and tying, you've obviously got the different offices that you've mentioned a couple of times, but no doubt you'll be working with clients who work on a global level now, and have done probably since the day you started. So I guess it's not just about telling story in one place at one time. It's about telling a story there that also connects with the story that you told for the same client there, and the same client there, and the same client there, and that all matching together.
Yes, were you in our leadership meeting last week? That's exactly what we were talking about. It sounds simple, right?
Yeah.
And it certainly, we were so we had such high hopes, growing globally and being able to service our clients globally. The fact of the matter is, 15 years ago, that honestly didn't the uptick wasn't as fast as we would have guessed. We were like, oh, we're working for Pepsi in the US, of course Pepsi in the UK is going to want to work with us. And the fact of the matter is, globally, the brands and the brand stories and the teams were very localized, call it 10, 15 years ago. That has changed. We are now seeing some of our largest clients, Amazon, Samsung, Oracle, we are activating for them globally. And when I say globally, I don't just mean like we have attendees coming from other regions here to the US. We are producing those events in the US, in London, in India, in Sydney, in Singapore. A lot of the content, strategy, all of that, the efficiencies of being a global agency that can tell a global story is so powerful right now. And yet you still have to take into consideration that culture. There are nuances. We see the nuances in our teams globally. But if they all ladder up to that same ultimate strategy, you just have to tweak it a bit in that region in order for it to land as effectively as it would, say, for example, here in the United States. So we do see a flattening of it now, though. More accessibility, more interest, more appreciation, frankly, for stories to run the gamut globally. And that's something that I'm incredibly passionate about, because it's what we're doing in our agency as well culturally. That, having those local priorities and things that really truly matter in that local, but ultimately at the end of the day, we function as one agency, which is unusual in our space. A lot of our competitors who have offices, around the world, they operate in silos, and that works for some. For us, we found that was not how we were going to grow, and not how we were going to best serve our clients. And so we really do, we just brought our entire organization together from around the world here in New York a couple months ago. It was absolutely incredible. And so we draw on those strengths and cultural and nuances and differences to make us better. There's a great phrase we use in our company called chasing the sun. So we are constantly bringing in people from other regions into any given project. So we just, we did a big launch for Samsung in Sydney, and there were people from the US involved in that. So there's cross-pollination of our teams, both culturally and geographically. And there's efficiencies in that as well. We'll hang up as we prepare for, Oracle AI World, and there's lots of changes that we need to be done graphically. We will hang up with that client at 5 o'clock East Coast time, get on the phone with our Singapore team, and we'll wake up in the morning and all the changes will be there. So we're really using it as a strength. It's a true muscle of INVNT, I think, that we do operate as one global unit.
Well, I guess, thinking about it logically, if you're trying to support a client in telling a global story that has joined up thinking across multiple different territories and borders and continents, then if you're not joined up yourself, if you're not operating to the same principle internally, how are you going to do a good job of telling that story that the client wants to deliver?
Thank you, and we'll put that on our website because that is spot on. That's spot on. Yes. Yes.
In terms of the development of tools on a more day-to-day level, there's a huge discussion about AI, and sometimes I'll be honest with you, I sometimes feel like, oh, I want to stop talking about AI for a minute because people are going to get bored of it. Actually, I don't think they are, because there's so many questions that are still unanswered. On a more sort of day-to-day operational level, are you seeing the tools that are available, and maybe going back to the tech side of things, that are helping you, even down to things like, I'm just thinking of visuals, client visuals, when you're wanting to render up what a room or a stage is going to look like, presumably all of these things that again might have taken hours or days to produce for clients, the tools are there to turn them around quicker, which means decisions can be made quicker, which means your lead into events is going to be a little bit better. You're going to buy yourself some days back. Are all of those things applicable now?
Oh my gosh, yes. That is, and every day getting better. I mean, it's moving so fast. We just posted. We have a general. We use Slack as a great communication tool in our agency, like many. We have a general channel where we'll post work that's happening globally. And not that long ago, our team out of Singapore and Sydney posted the fly-through of the expo floor for XeroCon. So Xero is a large client of ours. XeroCon is affectionately known as the Coachella for accountants. It's a great show. Yeah, we just did XeroCon London. The fly-through of that expo space that was posted on the Slack channel generated more conversation and comments, and how did you do that? And it was because it was so layered and rich with content and creativity. And of course, the fly through, not the design itself, the concept of the design was done by our creative team. That fly through, which brought it to life, and to your point, helped our client sign off super fast, because it was like being in the room, was all done in AI, and it was extraordinary and done in a fraction of the time that would have taken. And so you are spot on. It's helping clients make decisions faster. It's also helped setting their expectations, right? So AI if it's done right, can give you a true snapshot and what that preview experience of the attendee is really going to be. Instead of imagine, if you will, you hit play and you're like, this is what it's going to look like and feel like for your attendees as they move through it. And we're also using it in just your basic stuff, on-site agendas, production schedules, case studies, so much where it's at our fingertips now that, to your point, used to take quite a bit of time. So I don't see it necessarily like replacing any role within our company, but it's certainly going to make the jobs of our production coordinators and our producers so much more efficient, that they will be able to move quicker through those tasks that sometimes, frankly, seemed quite tedious. So.
Yeah. And I found something really strange about AI, and I wonder if anybody else has had a similar experience, is that, for every person that worries that, oh no, it's going to take a job away or it's going to make somebody redundant, I found when I used AI as a tool for a job not so long ago, for an event job that I was planning. And I'll not go into the specifics of how or why I use it, what for, but it saved me about 4 hours on a task, and it did it perfectly. I was really, really happy with the result. And rather than thinking, oh, great, well, that saved me a load of time, I can kick back and relax and everything, it actually made me more enthusiastic that I'd use this tool to do something so quickly and so productively. It actually had the opposite effect. It drove me on. I thought, great, what else can I get through today? Oh, right, well, I've done that job, I'm going to do this. I've actually had a positive experience, in the sense that it's actually made me more enthusiastic, because it's given me a sense of reward that I've achieved something so quickly. And I think for everybody that's worried about it, there's actually this opposite effect that I'm really curious to know if anybody else has had a similar sort of feeling.
Oh, absolutely. I just had it yesterday, plugged something in. I needed a quick calendar made for a project that I'm working on. I gave very general dates and timeframes. And now you just said something very interesting though, right? That that AI produced something that was perfect.
Yeah.
If you didn't have the skills and the knowledge and the experience to know it was perfect,
Fair
then
point.
you run into a problem, right? So the only reason why you knew it was perfect is because you have the skills, the experience, and the knowledge to recognize that it was perfect. So again, I think that's why I'm not. I think the live event space, more than any, is quite AI proof. We need to be in the room, and so there's all that stuff we were talking about, early on in our conversation. That that live experience, people in the room, is just so irreplaceable. It's certainly irreplaceable by AI. But what I'm saying is, like, the skills of the people are still so needed. Like, how do you know that I mean, if you didn't look at it and like just sent it off to your team and there were tons of mistakes in it, then not such a great experience.
You've just reminded me of something that I witnessed on Friday night. Very quick story. I was out for
Mhm.
dinner with some friends. My wife and I and another couple. We're in a really, really great Italian restaurant in Leeds, big place, and they have live act on every night of the week. And after the live entertainment had finished, they had a big projector screen that dropped down, and they were showing like a cycle of their forthcoming events. Okay, so all pretty standard so far. It was obvious which ones of the slides had been generated by AI, because everything looks the same when you're lazy with AI. In
Yes.
terms of generating images, everything looks the same. And
Yep.
they were promoting a country kind of live act that was coming up. And on the thing that the graphic that they generated, it should have said the words "saddle up,"
Oh no.
but AI had missed out a D in the middle of saddle. So it actually said "sadle up." And it was so small, it was right at the bottom of the screen, but I caught it on the cycle of these things, and I saw it and I thought, there we go. There's a prime example of somebody, they've used AI clearly to generate that graphic,
Yeah.
and nobody has checked it. Nobody's gone into the detail of checking it. And it said "saddle up." AI had missed a D out of the spelling. So,
Yep. Yep.
there's a lesson to us all there if you're going to saddle up with AI.
Yeah. Point taken.
A lesson for us all. Tell me, just before we wrap up today's episode, Kristina,
Mm.
I'll bring it back to sort of maybe a more sort of personal level. For you working in the industry, you've helped to build and shape a global organization. Are you still as enthused today as you were when you started? How does it feel on a personal level, getting up every day and working in this industry?
Such a great question, because the answer is, more than ever. I think we talk about this quite a bit as a culture, but our industry is having a moment. There's no question about it. There is a focus on live events. There is a level of respect and appetite, and creative energy around the space that I frankly have not seen in my career, that I'm incredibly excited about, and I know our clients are, and I know our teams are. It's easier to explain what we do because it's everywhere now, right? Like, it's become, people's time, people's presence in any space, is a currency, more so now than it ever has been. So I'm more enthusiastic now about our industry than I ever have been.
Fabulous. It's been great speaking to you today. Thank you very much for taking time out, at the start of a week as well. I tend to record these on a Monday, and I'm never not grateful for the fact that people are joining me, generally speaking, on their busiest day of the week when their inbox
Yeah.
is the fullest. So yeah, I'm very, very grateful for you to sort of take a bit of time out of your diary, Kristina, and join us today.
Thank you, James. It was a pleasure.
My guest today is the Global President of INVNT, Kristina McCoobery, talking everything global events agency, the ethos behind it. Some great stuff here, but really, if you want to find out more about this great agency, please do head over to their website. I'll pop that up now. It's invent.com. And for anybody not familiar with the brand, INVNT, invent.com is where you'll find out more about Kristina and all of her colleagues and all of the things that we talked about today, and probably a lot more besides. Some great case studies, information on the work that they do. So yeah, do go and check those guys out. And whilst you're doing that, and once you've checked out everything that INVNT have got to offer, please do make sure that you have a little look around the rest of the Event Industry News website. If you've started your journey today by watching today's podcast on the podcasts page of the website, make sure that you go and check out all the special news features, supplements that are on the website, as well as the supplier directory. If you work in the events industry and you're looking for a product, service, or supplier, the chances are you will find it on the supplier directory around this website. Of course, you may have started your journey today by listening to today's podcast via your audio podcast platform. If you've done that, thanks very much for listening today. Make sure that you like and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get it from so that you get the regular updates on the new episodes. And please do make sure that you do also take a few minutes to head over to the website and check out all the things that I've just mentioned. Thank you very much again today to my guest, Kristina McCoobery. My name's James Dickson, and we'll see you on the next edition of the Event Industry News Podcast. Goodbye, everybody.